everybody, and welcome to the Building Excellence Podcast. This podcast is all about helping you build excellence in every area of your life. There are people here that just love you, and they may have learned some kind of wisdom or some piece of information. They have lived life long enough and they learned a nugget or two, and they believe they just want to share it to help you grow in some area. So right now we're going to jump back in. This is part 2 of the 2025 Building Excellence side of how do I win my year. The first podcast we talked about, it is so important for us to pick an area, to set a target on specific things that you want to do to win your year. And so for me, I like to concentrate on very specific areas that I think are most important. I like to concentrate on winning my year spiritually. I like to concentrate on winning my year mentally. I like to concentrate on winning my year with my physical body. Like, how do I win that? I also want to learn how do I win my year in my relationships? How do I win my year in my finances? How do I win my year in my parenting? How do I win my year in my leadership? And so what we're going to talk about today is those last 4. So let's dive in. So the first one I want to talk about is how do I win this year in relationships? It's so important that you pick a goal that's good for you. So you think about the relationships that mean the most to you. Think about your spouse if you're married. Think about your closest friends and set a goal, set a target of like, what is one thing that I could do differently that will produce a greater result that will allow me to win my relationships more this year? So right now, I'm just going to give you a couple of ideas. The first idea that I have is, what if this year we won't live offended? What if this year we won't be offended in our marriage easily? What if this year we won't be offended in our relationships easily? I think that it is natural for most humans to be easily offended. I think that anytime we have an expectation that somebody doesn't meet, it makes us offended. And one of the things that I think that helps me to overcome offense, one of the things that helps me to have grace is for me to understand a couple of things. One, did I have an expectation for a person that they didn't commit to, or maybe they didn't even know about and they didn't meet it? And if so, is that fair for me to be frustrated? Is it fair for me to be frustrated at a person for not doing something that I wanted them to do, but they didn't know I wanted them to do it? It sounds crazy, but I know it happens to me. I can get frustrated easily. Then I got to remember, man, they don't know I want them to do that. So maybe this year we'll show grace, and this year we'll maybe communicate and ask them if that's something that they can do. Maybe that we're getting offended at expecting somebody to do something that they may not have the capacity to do. I know I've been there where I'm offended because somebody didn't do something that whenever I thought about it, I'm like, man, that's not even who they are. So I would call that an unrealistic expectation. Maybe you're a person that um, when it comes down to relationships that matter to you most, you have a hard time embracing their humanity. Let me explain that. Every person on the planet has strengths and weaknesses. And many times as humans, we can expect everybody to be perfect except ourselves. It is so easy for us to have grace for ourselves. And many times it's hard for us to have grace on others. It's easy for us to expect everybody else to be perfect, but you want everybody to give you grace. Okay. I know I've been there too. I call that embracing everybody's humanity. What if this year, every relationship that's closest to you, you ask yourself, what are their strengths and what are their weaknesses? And whenever you evaluate their strengths, you can create an expectation. You can create thoughts on how y'all could best lead together based on those strengths. Here's the catch. Whenever you evaluate their weaknesses, it's very important that you don't expect them to operate well out of those weaknesses. So many times we can put expectations on people, know their weaknesses, or maybe even sometimes ignore the weaknesses and expect them to operate out of a strength that's truly a weakness. So if somebody is weak at something, I can't have an expectation when I talk to them for them to be good at that. Okay. A Maybe this year we show grace to our relationships weaknesses. Maybe this year we cover their weaknesses, and maybe this year we celebrate their strengths. Maybe that's what we do this year. Maybe this year the one thing that we do in our relationships is we don't live offended. We embrace their humanity. We celebrate their strengths, and we cover and have grace for the weaknesses. All right. Another thing that maybe we can do in relationships is shoot, get some good ones. Maybe this year, the one thing that you want to do is surround yourself with people who are good people. How would you define good people? Well, I would just say it like this: your inner circle needs to be people who love you enough to show you grace, love you enough to cover your weaknesses, and then love you enough to celebrate your strengths, to celebrate your victories. You don't want people around you that are going to be full of jealousy, strife, division, and want to hold you down and pull you back and try to sabotage you. You don't want to be around people who are going to that's always dysfunctional, always trying to pull any kind of joy down, always trying to gossip and ill will. You want to try to shield yourself from that. But surround yourself with people full of love, joy. Say, you know what? I'm going to have grace for your weaknesses. I'm going to cover those things, and we're going to stand back to back and conquer those. And whenever you do win, I got the capacity to celebrate you there too. So maybe that's what we do this year in relationships. All right, let's go to the next thing. So, next thing, let's talk about parenting. I'm a parent of three, and one of the biggest things that I love to learn from and talk about is parenting. Like, there's no perfect parent. Maybe that's the one thing that we have to learn this year is to have grace on yourself. That there is no perfect parent. The first parent was God. Okay, all right, and you saw what happened to Adam and Eve. All right, so if Adam and Eve didn't do good, what makes you think that we gonna do better? Okay, so we can't control humans. Okay, so maybe the one thing you get out of today is forgiving yourself. Releasing yourself of the idea that you can control humanity. Release yourself of the idea that what defines a good parent is that their children end up being the president of the United States. No, what defines a good parent is that that good parent was there, that they loved them, they supported their kids, they pointed them in the right direction, they supported them. That's what defines a good parent. You gave it everything you had. If you knew better, you would do better. So we all reserve the right to go smarter. So maybe that's the one thing. Another idea when it comes to parenting is just celebrate what you want repeated. It's so important to not just say no, 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 but also say yes, 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 or good job. Keep doing that. You want to try to keep the celebration versus correction to 1 in 5 ratio. For every one correction, have about 5 celebrations, 1 to 3 at minimum. Okay, you don't want your corrections to outweigh the celebrations. So you want to have your home to be a home of love, a home of celebration, a home of relationship. You want your children to want to come home and to know that you love them. And part of love is discipline. Make no mistake about it. But at the same time, you also want to celebrate when they do things well. So hopefully that's a helpful thought for parenting. Next, let's talk finances. Well, listen, I'm looking forward to this quarter. We're going to have a CEO of an accounting and financial company that's going to be a part of the Building Excellence podcast, and he's going to be sharing some really phenomenal insights on how you can build excellence in your finances. And so I am not him. However, we do talk often. All right, I do think it's important for you to have some sort of financial guru in your corner that can help you steward finance as well. The one thought that I thought might be good as an idea, again, choose the financial goal that you think is best for you. But one thought I'd give you is this: uh, don't be money sloppy this year. Don't be money sloppy. Uh, what do I mean? Like, don't just spend, 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 and don't know where everything's going, have no clue what's going to happen. Don't be money sloppy. So maybe you say, you know what? I'm going to make a budget. I'm going to review it every Saturday at 9 a.m. That's my plan. I'm not going to be money sloppy this year. I'm going to create a budget. I'm going to create it on this coming Saturday at 9 a.m. Then every Saturday from that point forward, 9 a.m. I'm going to review it. Review it for 30 minutes. Just make sure, do I know where money at? What money went out? What money came in? Do I like it? If I don't, make adjustments. That's it. So maybe that's what you do in 2025. Don't be money sloppy. The last thing that I'll throw out there is leadership. Um, Maybe this year in your leadership, you're like, listen, what is one thing that I can do to grow in my leadership? Again, I think it's important to reflect on 2024, reflect on what are some areas that you thought you did well in your leadership, and then reflect and say what are some areas that were more challenging. One thing that I would say, I have a couple of thoughts that I like to throw out as some ideas. Again, pick the goal that's best for you and how you can grow in your leadership. But one idea is this: what if this year that in your leadership you decide, I'm not going to just work, I'm actually going to disciple? All right. And the last area that I want to discuss today on how do we win our year is, how do I win my year with my leadership? So I just want to throw out a couple of ideas. Again, it's so important for you to choose a goal for your leadership. It's so important for you to evaluate 2024 and ask yourself, what is one thing that I could do differently to where my 2025 will be better than my 2024 in my leadership? So you process that. Process the areas that you thought you did well and process some areas you can grow in. You can even ask some of your staff, some of your coworkers. You can ask some people that you are close to and say, what are some areas I can grow in? I'm going to give you a couple of ideas, okay? One idea is, um, how do I grow in my leadership this year? Maybe it's, I'm going to block out the noise. I'll tell you this. One of my best friends, he actually told me this today. It was a phenomenal word. He said, Dwayne, you only get tackled if you're about to score a touchdown. If you aren't running for a touchdown and you're running in the opposite direction, they let you run. But if you have a good team or good teammate, they won't let you run in the wrong direction. Just let that sit for a second. If you're running for a touchdown, that's the only time you're going to be tackled. The point of that is, anytime you're trying to do something good, anytime you're trying to do something great, anytime you're trying to fulfill your purpose and your destiny, I need you to understand you're going to face opposition. You're going to face mountains that seem too tall. You're going to face challenges that seem insurmountable. And there are going to be people that are going to say things or try to discourage you. And just understand it's all a part of trying to score a touchdown. Don't let the fact that you're going to get tackled a time or two discourage you from scoring that touchdown. Now, listen, if ain't nobody trying to tackle you, you might need to ask yourself, are you running in the wrong direction? And I think it's also very important that you have people in your circle that you'll listen to, so that if you are running in the wrong direction, that A, you'll know it, and then B, you can turn around. So that's the first thing, is block out the noise. Maybe today, this year, you're going to be relentless. You're not going to let anybody talk you out of doing or discourage you from doing what you know your God-given purpose is, what you're supposed to do in the moment. Don't let anybody talk you out of being who you're supposed to be and doing what you're supposed to do. Okay. And I think the second thing was also a part of that analogy. Maybe the thing that we want to do this year is, man, you know what? I'm going to listen better. This year, I'm going to surround myself with people who aren't going to just tell me what I want to hear. I'm going to surround myself with people that'll tell me if I'm running in the wrong direction. I think that listening is one of those things that is just highly underrated. I'm not sure why we don't talk about listening more. It's so clear. The Bible says you should be slow to speak, slow to anger, but you also should be quick to listen. I would just say it like this: maybe this year, You want to grow in being a better listener. You want to listen to maybe your staff, or listen to your coworkers, or listen to other people and ask them some vulnerable questions. What are some things that I could do differently? What are some things that I could do that can make me a better leader? Uh, maybe you can work on collaborating. Man, here's an idea, or a strategy, or a goal that I want to hit this year. What are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on how we can make this better? Maybe can we do it together? Two are better off than one, right? So maybe this year is a year of no more lone wolf, no more lone ranger, no more my way or the highway. Maybe this year is I'm going to listen, I'm going to collaborate, I'm going to do things together. All right, cool. And so the last thought, that I would give you is, maybe this year you're saying, I am going to lead myself better with my energy. I'm going to lead myself better with my schedule. This year, I'm not going to be overwhelmed. This year, I'm not going to be burned out. Listen, that happens to so many people. Burnout is real. Being having no energy or low energy is real. So, what do you do? Well, I'll tell you this. If that's you, one of the areas that I'm most gifted in is helping people navigate that area of their life. I help people be more organized. I help people prioritize their world better. I help people communicate better. I help people get out of being burned out. I help people figure out how to create a sustainable schedule, how to create a sustainable rhythm. I help people who are juggling multiple variables and handling competing issues, and how they handle that in a sustainable way. I uh, Whenever it comes to that part of life, I think it's so important for everybody to find a strategy that works for them. However, there is a strategy that I think could be good for many people. And so, if that's you, that's more than a podcast. We're going to be having several pieces of content, several opportunities for people like you to grow in that area. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to go to our website, buildexcellencenow.com, and just put in your information at the bottom as stay in the know, and we're going to contact you directly and let you know when the next, I would say, mentoring sessions or collaborative sessions or content sessions that we're going to release are going to be just about that. So if you want to go in that area, we can't wait. I can't wait to help you, because this year, I would just say, I want to help as many people as possible uh, find a cure for being overwhelmed, for being burned out, for juggling too many variables, for not being able to manage their energy. I think it's so important in this world. Get the best you, your family gets the best you, your workplace gets the best you. And the way you do that is if you figure out a way to handle all those variables. Well, guys, I hope that you've enjoyed this podcast. I hope 2025 is off to a great start. Again, we have so many things in store for you later on this quarter. We're going to be talking about how to build excellence in your finances, how to build excellence in your mental health, how to build excellence in your relationships. And also, we're going to be doing the big launch of the Cure to Chaos, okay? And that's going to be where we're really going to be diving into all the content on how you can avoid burnout, how you can beat overwhelm, go from overwhelmed to being an overcomer. All right, talk to you guys soon. Stay tuned on Building Excellence Podcast.